I worked 2 jobs to support my sister's future. Then she called me a failure. So here's the backstory. I've been working 2 jobs for the last couple of years to support my sister's college education. My parents are not financially stable, and I knew that if my sister wanted a better future, I would have to step in and give her the life I always dreamed of, but could never have. I wanted to provide her with an opportunity to break out of the cycle of struggle that ran in our family for so long. I didn't mind it, though. I knew this would be my role. I knew that sacrifices would have to be made. I spent my mornings running coffee shifts, my afternoons running errands, and my nights at my second job. Every dollar I earned went straight to her rent, her tuition, her books, her bills. I was always exhausted, yes, but I kept going. I thought it was worth it. I thought I was building her a future. I believed we were okay. I believed I was doing a good thing by investing in her dreams. I thought everything would come full circle one day. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened at a family dinner a few weeks ago. It was nothing out of the ordinary. My family has this typical Sunday vibe: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and a little laughter while we shared stories of our week. My sister was texting on her phone, like always. She was laughing, sharing memes with her friends, and looking at her phone the way that only younger siblings seem to. It looked so normal, so fine. I allowed myself to enjoy that moment, to feel pride for all the sacrifices I had made. And then she said it. Out of nowhere, she looked up from her phone, smirked, and said in the most casual tone, "You know, you've been working your butt off to support me for years. And yet here you are, still a complete failure." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. It took me a moment to process what I just heard. I froze. My fork was halfway to my mouth. My hand trembled. I stared at her, unsure if I'd heard her right. But the words rang in my head again. "You're a complete failure." Everyone at the table was still eating, laughing, and having their own conversations. Nobody else had picked up on it. But I felt like the words had knocked me out of my chair, sent me into a free fall that only I could hear. I didn't know what to say. My mind went blank. I thought about all the sacrifices I had made working 2 jobs, skipping nights out, postponing my own goals, spending hours toiling away to make sure she could have every opportunity to succeed. I thought about how every paycheck had gone to her tuition, her living expenses, and her needs. And this was how she chose to thank me? With a single sentence, with a casual smirk, as if my years of effort amounted to nothing? I didn't confront her at the dinner table. I stayed quiet. I thought I would have time to sort through it later. I thought I could shake it off, but I couldn't. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying her words over and over again in my head. "You're a complete failure." I tried to reason with myself. Maybe she was angry. Maybe it was a moment of frustration. Maybe she didn't really mean it. But even if that were true, it didn't take away the sting of the words. They lingered. They haunted me. I knew I had to process this somehow, but I didn't know how. Confrontation seemed pointless. I imagined myself yelling, crying, making her understand everything I had sacrificed. But I knew it would only escalate things. It would lead to hurt feelings, arguments, and resentment. No, I needed a different approach. So I made a decision. I decided that she needed to learn the consequences of her actions, not through yelling, not through angry words, but through experience. I decided that I would stop paying for her rent and tuition. No warning, no explanation, just complete silence. Let her feel the weight of her actions. Let her learn from real, tangible consequences. It wasn't an easy choice to make. I thought about how much this could affect her life. What would happen if she couldn't afford rent? What if she fell into financial ruin? I knew these questions would haunt me, but I couldn't let fear of what might happen stop me from making the choice that needed to be made. So I stopped. I didn't send her money. I didn't text her. I didn't give her a warning. I wanted her to figure it out on her own. I let the silence sit there. And sure enough, it didn't take long before the panic started. The first text came casually enough. "Hey, how are you doing? Hope everything's okay." I didn't reply. Then they got a little more anxious. "Wait, what's going on? You're not sending me the money?" The words came faster, each one a little more desperate than the last. Her messages started to change. I can't pay rent. I can't buy groceries. Please, please, just tell me what's happening. I stayed silent. I watched the messages pile up, but I didn't respond. I knew she needed to feel this. I knew she needed to connect her words to consequences. Eventually, eviction notices came. I could feel the stress through every frantic message and every teardrop in her words. Her life was unraveling. I knew it hurt her. I could sense it through every letter and text. But I stayed strong. And then came the family dinner when everything came to light. My parents didn't know everything. I explained everything that night, the 2 jobs, the sacrifices, the long hours, and how much I had tried to give her a life that could lead to freedom. I explained how at the dinner table she had called me a failure and how I had let her experience what consequences could feel like. The room was suffocating. She sat there, pale, staring at her hands, unable to respond. My parents were confused at first, but quickly understood the weight of what I shared. They listened. They tried to understand. She tried to apologize, of course. She said she was angry, that she didn't mean it, but damage had already been done. She's trying now, I think. I see her trying to own up to her mistakes, and part of me wants to give her the benefit of the doubt, but a part of me still wonders, was this lesson worth it? I could have just sent her money again. I could have saved her from this pain, this lesson. But sometimes the hardest choices are the best ones. So, am I the bad guy here? I know I could have handled this differently. I know this was painful for everyone involved. But looking back, I still think it was the right choice. What would you have done?